Alright, it's recording now. Okay. I was sitting here thinking, okay, about what, revisiting my goals, man. Okay? Goals with music. And it all started this morning. Today's the 4th of September 2025. When I looked at an email from DistroKid canceled my subscription because they said I didn't pay. And I was like, bullshit, I did pay. But it turned out I didn't pay, so I was wrong. Either way, I was sitting there talking to my wife, Donna, and she didn't say nothing. But I was like trying to justify what I'm doing with music because I'm not getting anywhere, not gaining any traction whatsoever. Because I've been at this really hard for the last, 2 years. Okay? Every fucking day, man, I'll do something with this, and from the outside it looks like I'm not doing anything, but I am. Either way, I'm like, okay, what's my goal here, man? Because you have to have a target, right? And so I'm sitting there thinking, really my goal is to be somewhere in music to where I can earn a living when I retire from trucking, right? I don't want to be a Walmart greeter when I get old, because who knows how the economy is going to be. I'm not going to have 401k. I'm not going to have, we might have Social Security, I don't know. All I know is that, I want to do something that I love to do, which is music. So that's what I'm putting my energy towards. Learning how to write, produce, and engineer music. Simple, right? It sounds simple, but when you get into each element of those titles, you have so many subcategories of things you need to learn. And then whenever I'm sitting in front of the computer, it looks like I'm not doing anything, but I'm, learning. When I'm working in FL Studio, I'm learning how to put a song together. I'm learning how, sonically to put a song together. But besides that, I'm like sitting there kind of kicking myself, and I was like, telling Donna, I'm like, listen, man, I'm doing it. From the outside it looks like I'm not getting anywhere, and I'm not. Spotify says so. I don't get any streams on any music. I'm not putting any music out there. I'm having a hard time, probably of my own fault, because I make this, putting it together. I try to make things perfect, and I know I can't do that. I just need to bang out the songs and put it up there, and get better as I go along, because I lose traction then. I don't get anything done. And I sit there on one song or no song, and I don't do anything. It's like a deer in the headlight look, and you end up not doing anything at all, because it's like you're inside of a, me personally, I like a clean house, but if it's just all disarray and cluttered and I stand in the middle, I kind of throw my hands up, and I'm like, where do I even start? That's me right now. You know, so I just start doing one thing at a time, and it doesn't make sense sometimes. And it probably, you know, it would behoove me to, you know, lay out a strategy, you know, some kind of a way for me to, you know, get this ball rolling and learn it, you know, in an efficient way. But I'm not doing that. I'm just kind of, you know, winging it. And it's so frustrating because 2 years has gone by, and I'm sitting here trying to explain to Donna, you know, it looks like from the outside I'm not doing anything, but I am doing something. I just want to be able to do music when I retire. You know, I feel like that's where God wants me to go. It's like, otherwise, why would I have this desire? I mean, I could go hunting or fishing or some. I don't even hunt and fish, by the way. I don't even do that. All my life, man, all I've messed with on my off time is music. You know, that's the only thing. I mean, even though when I was a kid, I didn't play any instruments. I like to sing, but I didn't play any instruments until, you know, I got older. You know, I was like, well, I got my first guitar at 14. But I didn't stick with it. And in 98, when we moved to Texas, me, my wife, and my children, I've met a friend, Joe Roddy, and he wrote his own songs. And I was like, dude, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. You know, there was like a seed in me. And when I saw that, I was like, yes. You know, it's kind of like whenever a kid, you know, tries something out for the first time, like football or soccer or whatever. You know, the parents are like, well, we got to spend a lot of money on this stuff, and you got to stick with it, you know. And if they stick with it, you know, then they progress, you know, they thrive. And it's the same thing with anything else. You know, if you pick something out that you think, you know, you're interested in, then you're going to stick with it. Well, music has been a reoccurrence in my life all along, to do something with it, you know, because I love it. I love music. So that's it. I mean, there's nothing else, and I'm not interested in anything else. You know, my wife is like, you could have built me a house by now. Well, I tried to go to work for my dad as a general contractor, a site superintendent. I didn't get into it. You know, it wasn't me. So I didn't do that. I didn't stick with it. So, like a magnet, I went straight back to music. You know, but like I said, I didn't start music until I was like, let's see, 98. So 82, 92, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was 26 years old in Texas, and I was like, had big dreams of, you know, being an artist. I was like, man, I could learn how to play music and sing and, you know, do this cool stuff. I even called Nashville. You know, it was crazy. You know, it looked like, you know, me trying to go to outer space, you know, to the moon. No, that's not gonna work, man. Well, for one, I was dealing with fear and anxiety of what people thought of me. you know, and I let that hold me back for so long. So fast forward to 2025. So you're looking at 98, 08, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 25. That's 27 years. 27 years of me kicking this music thing around, not being consistent with it. And now, a couple years ago, I got consistent as hell. Every fucking day I do something with music. Every day. To inch my way towards that goal of working in music, you know, because I love music. So, you know, you're looking at 27 years of, you know, off and on playing around with music. And what do I have to show for it? You know, most people, you know, they find out if they want to be an artist, if they want to be a songwriter, a producer, an engineer. You know, they figure that stuff out pretty quick. I didn't apply myself. I didn't know exactly where I was supposed to go because I was letting fear hold me back from what I really wanted to do. I wanted to sing. I wanted to be a singer. But even now I grapple with that, man. I fight with that. You know, I'm so self-conscious, and I don't know why. But I mean, obviously I get on here, you know, and I, you know, parade myself around, you know, showing everything that I've done. Oh, look at what I did. Look at what I did. And it sucks. Everything sucks. You know, I'm not where I should be. I mean, my songs don't get, you know, accomplished. They don't get finished, you know, done the way they should. They say you need to write at least 100 songs for one good song. I don't even think I have 100 songs, man. You know, I'm looking in the 20s right now, maybe 20 songs. And that's nowhere near 100. So I need to get to writing if I want to, you know, be a songwriter. But then I tell myself, well, I don't even live in Nashville. Does that matter? I don't know. I try to do cover songs, you know, doing cover songs in front on the TikTok, on YouTube, Twitch. I try not to go on Facebook where all my family is because I don't want to embarrass them. I mean, my dad told me one time, he's like, you know, you got to cut yourself some slack when you're learning something. He told me this a long time ago, and it's stuck in my head. When you're learning something, you can't push yourself so dang hard to where you start hating the thing. You know, like yesterday, I was listening to a podcast, a songwriting podcast. This one guy, you know, he said it took him 13 years to get a #1 hit. And that's from the time he moved to Nashville. You know, he moved to Nashville. He finally got, you know, after 13 years of grinding, 13 years. And I started whenever I was 51. So I'm looking at 61, 2, 3, 4, 64 years old before, and I'm not even in Nashville. So what am I counting? I don't know. You know, I think I'm putting a lot of pressure on something that I don't even know what the plan is. except for I want to work in music. I have no idea, you know, and all I know is that I love music and I want to continue doing it. I've already come too far to quit, so I might as well keep rolling with it. I believe God put a seed in me for this, and I'm like, He's gonna do something with it, and I don't know what it is. I mean, that's just a simple fact of it. And sometimes you just don't know what God's gonna do with you, and that's probably a good thing. Because if you did know, then you'd be trying to manipulate, you know, a whole bunch of ins and outs. You know, you'd be trying to scheme, man. So, I don't know. All I know is that I want to do music. I don't want to be a Walmart greeter. I don't want to be a truck driver. You know, my son's going through the same thing right now. How old is he? 20, 26, 27? He's my youngest, Joe. Either way, he's trying to find his way, you know. He's trying to figure out, you know, what to do with his life, you know. And I think a lot of people fall in that category. You try to figure out what you want to do with your life, and the sooner you figure it out, the better. Because 27 years ago, whenever I started, whenever I was like 26 or 27, the same age as my son right now, you know, I would be a lot further if I would have buckled down and said, Brian, hey, this is what you really should be doing right here. You should be working with music. And figure it out. You know, figure out, you know, where you want to be exactly. What you want to be doing in music. Because there's a lot of things in music you could be doing. You know, you want to be out front. You want to be behind the scenes. You know, what do you want to do? So, I mean, there's a lot of hats to be worn, especially now. I mean, songwriters are like producers now, you know. All I know is that right now, September 5th, it's Wednesday, it's September 5th, 2025. I just had to revisit this goal, man. I mean, you got to refresh your mind. Like, what the fuck are we doing and why are we doing it? You know? And that's what I'm revisiting. I'm like, because this morning when I saw that from DistroKid, I was like, well, I don't have any streams anyway. Well, you're not putting anything out there, and there's 9 billion people on the planet. So, I mean, you're just like a little speck of sand. I mean, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? It's crazy, man. That guy yesterday, man, just listening to him tell a story, he's like, it took me 13 years to get a number one. And he made it a point to say, you know, he had been praying all along, you know, Lord, I'm about to give up. He said that. He's like, he told God, he's like, I'm about to give up on this. And he said, no, don't stay in, you know, stay the course. So you stay the course. Because you don't know what his plan is. And I believe God has a plan for everybody. So, I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it. It's frustrating, but because you want things to happen in your time, and it doesn't happen in your time, and it just, I tell myself, if it did happen in my time, would you be ready? You know, my dad said a while back, he's like, you know, if you're wanting to do something, make sure you prepare yourself first. Which totally makes sense, because I wouldn't be prepared right now. If I just all of a sudden just blew up, my songs took off, and I started getting, you know, traction, I wouldn't know what to do. I really wouldn't know what to do. It's kind of like these guys who are these old cats, you know, they're like talking about these guys who don't go out and gig, and they blow up online, and then they get signed to a label, and the label throws them in the frying pan. And it's a culture shock, man. It's a shock to the system. You know, either the people are going to love you or they're going to hate you. Yeah, I totally wouldn't be ready. If they threw my ass up on stage, if they threw me on a project, you know, millions of dollars worth, no. You're not ready. You're not ready, man. You got to... What do they say? These old cats, man. You know, you got to put your time in. I mean, basically, that's basically what they say. You got to put your time in. You know, you got to do the dive bars. You got to, you know, get out in front of people, basically. And that's my hardcore fear, you know, getting out in front of people. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is God calling me to be an upfront person or a behind the scenes person? I don't know. I'm like trying to songwrite. I'm trying to do covers. I'm trying to produce, and I'm trying to engineer. So it's like, you know, where am I gaining traction in those? You know, where am I doing best at? You know, usually whenever I learn a cover song, it's fairly easy for me to do. Writing a song, that takes time, you know, because when you write songs, your first song is going to be shit, you know. Like the guys were saying, you get through 100 songs just to get to one good song, and you have to keep on writing every day. And I don't even write every day, you know. I write whenever I basically get inspired. I mean, that's the, you know, simple fact of it. I write whenever I get inspired. As far as production and engineering, you know, I don't get in the DAW every day. The only thing I do every day that I live, I get on the guitar and I'm either practicing a song that I already know, or I practice a new song. You know, other than that, I really don't do anything else. I don't do production. I don't get in the DAW and try to perfect recording. Like right now, I'm dealing with recording issues because I'm not a good recorder, you know, or a recording engineer. I suck at it. I got a whole bunch of Waves plugins from Waves Essential that I got a couple days ago, and I'm like, what am I even gonna fucking do with this if I'm not recording? You know, and I'm paying $12 a month for it, and then I'm paying, I mean, it's $35 a year for DistroKid. You know, it's just little stuff like that is like holding you down and not letting you get to, you know, your goal faster. So where am I gaining traction at? You know, where do you do best at? What's your, you know, like the songwriters, the guy yesterday talking, he was like, you know, there's, when he goes into a room, you know, there's a whole bunch of songwriters in there. One's good at melody, one's good at phrasing, one's good at I don't know, lyrics. You know, just so many different moving parts, you know, and you're usually good at a couple, you know, one or two things. You know, there's always that fucking unicorn who's good at everything. But I'm trying to figure where I'm good at, you know. And I guess I need to marinate more or something. So, anyway, that's my little update.